Hi, my name is Cyndi Mitchell. I am the sister of Mario Romero. He was murdered on September 2nd, 2012 by Vallejo police officer Sean Kinney and Dustin Joseph. He was attacked and he was fired upon 40 times. He was shot 30 times and he was shot 8 times in the palms of his hands. His body was cut from the seatbelt and taken away from the scene of the crime, and a police-issued training weapon was planted inside of his car. His body was held for over 30 days, and my family was denied the right to identify his body. We were refused statements. We were refused by the district attorney, the Solano County District Attorney's office. They told us that they could not take our statements. They told us that we had our lawyers and they had theirs, and we told them we didn't have a lawyer and we had information that would prove that these officers committed murder, and that information was denied. We begged the police department to take statements. We were refused, we were avoided. My brother, he was murdered and he was called a parolee who was afraid of going back to prison. They said that when they approached his car, that he jumped out of the car and pointed a fake gun at them and said that he wasn't going to prison, wasn't going back to prison, although he had never been to prison before and he wasn't on parole. It was a lie that was created by the Vallejo Police Department in order to make his life appear not important, so that they could trick the community and make them feel like they've done them a favor. Since our standing up against this crime, we've been terrorized repeatedly. We've been wrongfully evicted, we've been harassed, we've been stalked, we've been ran off roads. We've been asking for protections, but we have been denied protections. We're pretty much living in a fleeing status, and we've been to the FBI, we've wrote letters to the Attorney General, we've received responses back that were fake and fraudulent, responses back that had nothing to do with the actual complaint. So there's been a lot that's been going on. We've been standing tall, and we've been willing to endure, this terror in order to get the story out so that the world can know that, Mario Romero was murdered by the Vallejo police. Not only was he murdered, three people were murdered in 2012 by the same person. So my brother Mario Romero, Jeremiah Moore, and Anton Barrett were all murdered by Sean Kinney. They were all unarmed. They all had white cars, and they were all killed, all within a 5-month period. The Vallejo Police Department does not drug test its officers or psychologically evaluate them beyond being hired. So if you were hired many, many years ago, that was the only drug test that you get. The Vallejo Police Department has general orders that they promise to uphold in their contract with the city, which says that if a person dies at the hands of police or is seriously injured, that a drug test and a psychological evaluation would happen. That has not happened. There has not been any money spent on drug testing or psychological evaluations beyond officers being hired, and the city has been left pretty much to the wolves. I have dedicated my life to ensuring that the people in my community are protected, so that no one will ever have to experience the grief that my family continuously feel. So nobody will have to, be in pain and hurt like my family hurts, because every day feels like September 2nd. Every day, the pain doesn't get better. You just find different ways to hide it and mask it. It's a devastation that you don't ever get over. And it's a pain that nobody should have to feel. This pain, is indescribable. It's indescribable, but, it's happening so much around the world that officers are being allowed to repeatedly kill people with impunity, without any kind of consequences. And they can lie. They can say they saw a gun. They can say that they fear for their lives, and they can get away with murder. So I'm dedicated I'm dedicated to ensuring that, you know, policies are changed and legislation is changed and laws are changed to protect the people, because, you know, we have been lied to. The people have been told that officers are here to protect the community, but they're not protecting us, they're killing us. And when you don't have accountability, when there's no oversight, when you have police officers who have the ability to kill you, to do drugs, to use alcohol, to have, you know, mental disabilities or any kind of disability that any regular person would have, without it being addressed, without it being monitored, without, you know, any kind of oversight, you set the community up to receive what my brother received, and he was murdered. And, you know, anytime you murder somebody, you fire 40 shots, you shoot 30 times, you shoot a person 30 times, then you shoot them 8 times through their hands, you know, and you say that you fear for your life, and then you plant a gun, then you plant a police-issued training weapon inside of his car, and you know, try to make your story make sense. You know, it's a problem. It's a problem not only with the officer that killed all of these people, including my brother. It's a problem with the people who helped to try to cover this crime up. It's a problem with the people who are terrorizing my family, following my family members, following me, you know, in order to keep us silent. And, you know, it's just so sad that our city leaders have taken a back seat on the issue and are, you know, interested in other things besides, you know, officers that are terrorizing the community, because this is terrorism on U.S. soil, and these officers are terrorizing us. There were many witnesses who said, hey, you know, I saw this crime. I saw this happen. You know, I saw them get on the hood of the car. You know, there were many witnesses who were there, who were willing to give statements to say, hey, you know, we saw them steal evidence from the crime scene. We saw them change the car. You know, the car that's in the picture is not the car that was originally there. You know, the officers. You got one officer who played the role of repeatedly expanding the crime scene. Right? This is Officer Clark. Officer Clark repeatedly expanded the crime scene. You have Officer Matt Thompson. His job was to distract the people who were trying to find information on what was going on so that Officer Ng could bring a weapon inside of the crime scene. So you have Officer Andre Charles, who was with the Maritime Academy Police Department, who watched this crime happen, who refused to say anything, you know. And you have Sean Kinney and Dustin Joseph, who the Vallejo Police Department are claiming that were immediately sequestered after this crime on the scene, allowed to change their appearance, clear blood off their hands, and plant a gun inside of the car, you know. You have members of the fire department, you know, that are in and out of the crime scene for no reason, you know. You have my brother's body that was taken from the crime scene, who they said, you know, they took him because, pretending like he was alive when he was actually dead. And when you're alive, your body is a certain temperature, and when you're dead, your body's a certain temperature, you know. And the doctor who they brought him to, he said he was dead when he got here. You know, and, you know, so it's so many things that happened during that time, you know. My brother's corpse being zip tied, you know, his hands being zip tied, and, you know, officers being allowed to take all of his clothes and be inside and out of the room where his body was at. So a lot of things happened that shouldn't have ever happened in this case. And you have a person that works in the district attorney's office that's a cousin to the officer who murdered my brother. That's a problem. You have a district attorney that refuses to acknowledge my brother and my brother-in-law as people, saying, you know, he's not going to consider them as a person, but wants to do his report on the views as being a average police officer, and he's never been a police officer. So it's a lot of different factors here. This district attorney was, election was coming up, so his job was to make this go away before, those elections came. He's no longer there. There's a new district attorney, but nothing has been done, nothing has been said. No additional inquiries have been made into the investigation that, was sloppily done, there's a lot to be said. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and these officers deserve to be behind bars.